considering the news in the aluminum market, I thought it would be appropriate if I wore this shirt. And for those of you who don't know, aluminum is measured in pounds, while aluminium is measured in kilograms. I just made that up. Haha. Think about that. So anyhow, I'm gonna hammer this one out. I'm gonna hammer this out today. So, Phone Star, spelled F-O-N-E, had a good question. He's a respectful YouTuber, and I had said we've got a lot of silver being held by retail. And his question was, please qualify that statement. Out of the few people I know that bother to save or invest anything at all, none hold silver. And his anecdotal observation is what I've seen also. I know very few people who own or save in silver. But my observation about a lot of silver being held by retail is also true. So let me explain. I went online and I found an article by Forbes where Forbes analyzed the Silver Institute's survey from 2012. And this video was based upon this information being incorrect, of course. If there's some mistake in that information, then of course these things I'm saying will not be valid. But I'm going with this information being correct that I'm seeing. So, the total world silver investment last year was about 252 million ounces. So let's put that in perspective. About 252 million ounces worldwide last year. So there are billions of people in the world, and if someone buys silver, they buy more than 1 ounce usually. So you can do that math. It's not a lot of people who are investing in silver on a global percent basis. And the demand for silver last year, according to the survey, was about 1.048 billion ounces. So we'll say about 1 billion ounces of silver demand last year, and about a quarter of that was purchased as silver investment, like coins, bars, whatnot, and other things. Let's have for some perspective here. So the market cap of two of the world's largest companies, which are Exxon and Apple, are over 400 billion each one, over $400 billion. And that's as of, August 1st, 2013. So last year, the average silver price was about $31 and change. So we'll say the total demand for silver last year was about $31 billion, whereas Apple has a market cap of over 400 billion, right? 400 billion is a lot more than 10 times than 30 billion. But perhaps they're not the right company to look at. Altria, which was the 50th biggest company in America, has a market cap of 70 billion. That is still twice 30 billion. And a company called Schlumberger has a market cap of over 100 billion. So how many people do you know own Altria stock or talk about their Altria stock? Actually, I've never heard anyone talk about Altria stock or Schlumberger stock, yet both these companies are several times the entire demand of silver last year. So, now, what I'm saying about retail is we are all a part of the general public. I know people on YouTube like to think that they're not a part of the public, but we are simply a subset of the public. Why? Because YouTube is public information. Anybody in the public who wants to can go on YouTube and type the stuff in and find it. So the stuff on YouTube, it's available to everybody. And the stuff on YouTube, by the time it hits YouTube, even if it's a popular silver pundit or silver quote guru or expert, by the time they get the information, the insiders have already known about it. By the time it goes to YouTube, it's either old information or misinformation, right? Even though people on YouTube are kind of different than the general public, they're still a subset of the general public. Now, even though a lot of us don't consider ourselves retail, we are all retail investors. Why do I say that? Because how much money are you investing? Are you investing $1 million at a time? Are you investing $10 million at a time? Do you have billions to invest? If not, you are a retail investor. And you are a retail investor and you're holding silver, even though you might not think of yourself as a typical retail investor. No, if you hold silver, you are not the typical retail investor, but you are still a retail investor. Okay, So, so the second part of what I want to say is we've got a lot of silver being held by retail. Is that so? Last year, about a quarter of all the silver demand was scooped up by retail investors. The previous year, it was approximately similar. So, in 2 years, retail investors scooped up a half year's worth of total silver demand. So, think about that. How much silver supply is being held by investors? Now, I know people talk a lot about increasing American Eagle sales and whatnot. So last year, coins and metals were about 93 million ounces. So less than 1/10 of all silver demand was coins and metals. So here's some perspective. Photography was about 57 million ounces, and silverware was 44 million ounces. So photography and silverware still had more demand than coins and metals. And of course, American Eagles are a subset of coins and metals. So people can slice and dice information, you can try and analyze it and whatnot, but I'm looking at kind of the bigger picture here. So yes, I have no doubt that American Eagles could be on the rise. More people want them. That's very possible. You know, it makes sense and so forth. But looking at the big market, for example, photography is declining every year. So you know, you have some parts that are declining, some parts that are increasing, but it's all in these reports. And it's all things that the market knows about. The traders, the big money, right? The smart money. They're all buying and selling based upon information. So I'm just cautious when I see people, when I see pundits who are saying that, oh yeah, silver, buy it now because American Eagle sales are up. Well, yes, American Eagle sales are up, but what percent of the total market are American Eagle sales? If the trend is increasing, what about the other trends in the silver market? And so yes, if 2 years, if 2 years of silver demand were from retail and were from investors, right? I'll just say investors. I mean, how many years of silver supply are being held by people in form of, you know, coins, medallions, bars, jewelry, silver, things like that people are holding in their houses or in their vaults or buried in their backyard or whatever, right? How many years of silver investment are currently off the market? And you know, if 1 billion ounces was last year and about the previous year's demand, and you have many billions of ounces being held by people, that's many years of silver demand being held by investors. And that's something to consider about things. Whereas what does the silver investor do as a whole? We know some people will always increase their stack, but what about people who have to sell for some reason? What are people who choose? These are all things to factor in. So my final anecdote, my final story was a couple years ago. I mentioned how one of my yoga teachers, when silver was under 20, I convinced her and her husband, who was a previous real estate developer, to buy silver. And then it almost hit 50, and then when it was in the 30s, I talked to this yoga instructor again, and I'm saying, oh, I'm sorry, I fell out. She goes, that's okay. We sold at 40, and we doubled our money. I'm like, whoa. You yoga teacher, you just schooled just about every single silver guru out there. This yoga teacher just bought at 20, sold at 40, and I said, well, are you buying again? She goes, well, if it falls back down, I might buy again. So I've got to find this yoga teacher and say, did you just double your stack of silver? Maybe you need to have a silver channel. Okay, thanks for watching.